When I first decided to try online dating, I thought it would be a fun and modern way to meet people. I had heard countless stories, some romantic, some disastrous, but I was curious about what my own experience would be like. I downloaded the apps, carefully crafted my profile, and prepared myself for an exciting journey. What I didn't expect was how much I would learn about people, relationships, and even myself along the way. At first, the process felt overwhelming. The sheer number of profiles, each with carefully chosen pictures and witty bios, made it difficult to know who was genuinely looking for a connection and who was just passing time. I swiped right on people who seemed interesting, and soon, the messages started coming in. The thrill of matching with someone was exciting, but I quickly learned that a match didn't necessarily mean a meaningful conversation would follow. Many conversations fizzled out before they even truly began, either due to lack of effort or the realization that the initial spark wasn't there. One of the most frustrating but eye-opening experiences was encountering ghosting for the first time. I would be in the middle of what seemed like a great conversation, or even after a promising first date, and suddenly the person would vanish without a word. At first, I took it personally, replaying conversations in my head and wondering what I did wrong. But as it happened more than once, I realized that ghosting had nothing to do with me. It was simply a reflection of the other person's inability to communicate their feelings, whether it was disinterest, fear of confrontation, or just a general lack of courtesy. As time went on, I started to notice patterns in how people presented themselves. Some were brutally honest, while others exaggerated or outright lied about aspects of their lives. Height was a surprisingly common one. More than a few people claimed to be taller than they actually were, as if they wouldn't eventually be found out in person. Others carefully curated their photos to give a certain impression, sometimes using old or misleading images that didn't reflect their current reality. While these little deceptions were disappointing, they taught me to focus on deeper qualities rather than surface-level details. The people who were upfront about themselves, flaws and all, stood out in a way that felt refreshing and rare. Beyond honesty, I learned that timing plays a crucial role in relationships. I met people who seemed perfect on paper, who checked every box in terms of shared interests and personality traits, but for one reason or another, things just didn't work out. Sometimes they weren't emotionally ready for a relationship, still healing from past heartbreaks or navigating personal challenges. Other times, the timing was off on my end. I wasn't in the right space to truly invest in something serious. No matter how much two people might like each other, if they aren't in the right place in their lives, things won't align. Not every date was a success, but each one was an experience in its own way. Some were fun and easygoing, while others were awkward or even laughably bad. There was the guy who talked nonstop about his ex for 2 hours, the one who spent the entire date glued to his phone, and the one who turned out to have a completely different personality than he did over text. While these encounters were frustrating in the moment, I came to appreciate them for what they were: stories to tell, lessons to learn, and reminders of what I truly wanted in a partner. One of the most surprising things I discovered was that not every connection needed to turn romantic to be meaningful. I went into online dating with the goal of finding a relationship, but along the way, I met people who became good friends instead. Some of the best conversations I had were with people I knew from the start weren't the right match romantically, but we still clicked on a human level. It was a reminder that connection comes in many forms, and not every interaction needs to fit into a specific category. Perhaps the most important thing I took away from my experience was the realization that the way I felt about myself influenced the way I approached dating. The more comfortable I became with who I was, the easier it was to navigate the ups and downs of meeting new people. Rejections felt less personal, bad dates were easier to laugh off, and I learned to enjoy the process rather than stress over the outcome. Confidence, self-respect, and a sense of humor turned out to be the most valuable tools I had. Online dating isn't perfect. It can be frustrating, exhausting, and sometimes disheartening. But it's also an opportunity to meet new people, to step outside of comfort zones, and to learn about what truly matters in a relationship. Looking back, I wouldn't trade the experience for anything, because every conversation, every date, and every lesson brought me closer to understanding what I truly want and need